Yeah, right. Thank you very much for joining us, Zara. Now you're kind of basically halfway around the world from where we are, really.
Yeah.
So just update us on where you are and what the time is.
Yeah, so I'm now in Nome, Alaska. It's almost 11 o'clock here in the morning. And yeah, my dad sent me a message just before I arrived saying there's no place like Nome, right? Like there's no place like home. And
That's
yeah, that's very
a
true.
real dad joke,
That's
isn't
a
it?
dad joke.
Yeah.
Hide your head in shame for that joke.
But yeah, it's been great. It's kind of cold. It's also weird knowing that I'm on the opposite side of the planet from like my parents and home. But it's beautiful. The one thing that's a bit frustrating is that the sun, like it comes up relatively late, but then also goes, the sunset is quite late, but it's always quite low. So it's always in your eyes. So I was trying to go on a walk and I just had the sun like constantly just in my face. But it's fascinating. Yeah, it's been really cool.
Real. Now, thinking back nearly probably 2 months now, how was that first Atlantic crossing for you?
It was tough. Yeah, it was a lot harder than I thought it'd be, just because I'd like to say I was relatively unlucky, but it was okay. But the cloud base was just quite low. And so I'm not allowed to fly into cloud. And so I was just kind of stuck beneath this overcast. And it was annoying because I'd met a couple pilots in a week that were also flying to Iceland at the time. And like on the radio as we were going, they were like, like just come up, like it's clear, like blue skies at 5,000 feet. And like I just have this wall above me. And I'm like, I know, I can't do anything about it. Um but yeah, it was good. Iceland was like a 5-hour flight. That was, I think, my first long solo over water one. I think my lowest point was 1,500 feet to just stay below the cloud at that point. Lost radio contact almost straight away. But I mean, it was nice. I had music and podcasts to keep me going. My most challenging flight was definitely Iceland to Greenland. The cloud got really low. So at one point, I was at 600 feet above the North Atlantic, which isn't the fun, like, it's not the most comfortable thing. I was kind of considering dipping my toes in at that point. But yeah, it was fun. And then seeing Greenland is like the most rewarding thing. It was amazing, especially like the icebergs and things like that. It's just like it takes your breath away.
And are you kind of less apprehensive about water crossings now because of
Oh,
having nailed that first one?
yeah, so then I had a 6-hour flight over water from the Caribbean islands to Colombia. And so now, especially coming to Nome, usually most people go along the coast, and I was like, no, I'm just going direct. Like there's like kind of this weird U, and going along. So Nome is up here, and then I was down here, and most people go along the coast, and then I just went, no, I just don't want to. So yeah, water isn't as scary anymore, but I think the Bering Strait is going to be a challenge.
And the airplane itself, the Shark, is it performing as you'd hoped it would?
Yes, it's been really good. The the temperature, because it's quite a small cowling, the temperature regulation can be challenging at times. So especially in places like Colombia and New Mexico, I had to taxi relatively quickly to try and cool the plane down before taking off. But yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, I'm halfway around the world. I've had a couple like maintenance stops, but nothing major. So I'm really happy, and yeah, I love it.
And just going back to the water crossings, what kind of podcasts were you listening to?
So I was just listening to the most random things. It got to a point, especially with my music, where it was like anything. I will listen to anything new. I don't care, just anything. And then for podcasts, there was this one podcast about interviews with celebrities that was WTF with Mark Maron, I think. And so it was like Matt Damon, I think a couple presidents from the US and stuff like that. And it was like an amusing podcast, but otherwise, yeah, I'm not too fussed really.
Real. And of the countries that you've visited so far, has there been one that's been kind of the most difficult in terms of like admin and permissions?
Actually, in that sense, people have been really helpful. So it's quite lucky that I've got some of, press behind me in that sense, is that people are really keen to help and make sure that everything goes smoothly. So that's really good. For the flying wise, it's kind of a joke, but it's not really a joke that every flight has had some sort of challenge. I've had maybe 35 flights now, maybe a bit more. And I think, yeah, 5 or 6 of those have gone as I planned them with no challenges whatsoever. Every time on the other flights, something goes wrong. And for example, like, yeah, the weather, thunderstorms, low clouds, wildfires in California, which I wasn't expecting, just a whole range of different stuff that comes up. And so, yeah, so it's been challenging, definitely.
Yeah. And you've spent a lot of time in the USA. So how's that compared from a flying point of view to Europe?
I really like it. So there's no airspace, or basically no airspace. So I can just kind of go direct, which is pretty fun. And also radio, like I'm almost always in range, which is, it's nice having that in the back of your mind, I guess. So I've really enjoyed it. It's been like terrain-wise and climate-wise, it's been a bit more challenging. I got into some relatively heavy turbulence in Seattle, going up to Alaska, and then in Alaska I had to divert because I was flying through valleys, and then at one point there were a couple of valleys I could go through to get to Juneau, which is up north, and they were all blocked by rain showers, and so I just couldn't get through them and had to land in Ketchikan. Spent a couple of days there, had some local salmon, so I was really happy. And then headed off to Juneau, was stuck there again for 4 days. Then headed up to Anchorage, really bad turbulence again, trying to get there. I was really close turning around, actually. And then Anchorage, spent a day there, and then got to Nome. And then Nome again, really heavy turbulence. So it was just a few days of like, oof, like the last couple of flights have been more challenging than I would have liked it to be.
And one question from a viewer, Freddie. Where has been your favorite place that you've visited?
I really liked Greenland. I loved it. I think partly because I was so kind of proud of myself for reaching Greenland. I think that was one of something that I always sort of look at. Wow, like flying yourself to Greenland is pretty cool. So already arriving there, I was super happy. But then also I met some really cool people. So I was in Ilulissat for a couple of days. So that's on the east coast of Greenland. And I was in this little hotel, and I met some NASA scientists over there, and they were doing climate change measurements. And so they would go out with a couple pilots in the DC-3 and drop probes, like aim and kind of like drop, probes into the ocean, and to measure, I think it was temperature and the salinity of the water and things like that. And they were super interesting people, and I kind of spent like 3 days with them, sort of tagging along. Sadly, I asked them if I could join them. Sadly, paperwork was an issue there, but yeah, it was super cool.
And another quick one from a viewer, Cloudhopper. Are you going to write a book?
I think I'd like to, but I don't know. My English literature was never my strong suit, but yeah, I'd love to.
And then one question which I think has popped up, and somewhere I've got a picture of it, is this.
Yeah.
How did this come about, and how was it?
So I got an email, I think, from someone kind of who's been helping me out, saying Holly Branson wants to talk to you. And I was like, I'm sorry, say that again. Like, who? Like, why? How did this come about? Having Holly Branson knowing about me and my trip was pretty crazy. And then, sure enough, I got a phone call one morning from Holly Branson saying, "Look, I think what you're doing is really cool, and Virgin, and on behalf of Virgin, I'd like to sponsor you and help you out." And I thought, this is the craziest thing. And then it kind of grew from there. So I was headed down to the Caribbean Islands anyway. And it was like, well, if you land at the British Virgin Islands, you may, it was a big maybe, you might be able to have lunch with Richard Branson. And so I just did a double take, like, I'm sorry, excuse me, say that again. And it was crazy. So I landed again, really big maybe. I was already late because I had to land in Turks and Caicos the night before because of really bad visibility. So I woke up that morning, left the moment the sun had risen. I was off. It was about a 3-hour flight to the British Virgin Islands, and then landed. And it was a little big maybe, and then suddenly someone who kind of helps him out and works for him was like, "Yeah, we're going to his island now. Like, grab your bags." And so I went in my flight suit and everything. I left my bags behind, and straight from the airport to Richard Branson's like house, and I was able to meet him. Yeah, it was really cool. Like, really nice. Had loads of questions, and it was amazing.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I think I was joking about this earlier. But if anyone would have told me, what, 2 months ago, that I would be paddleboarding with Richard Branson in the Caribbean islands, I would have I would have laughed. It would have been ridiculous.
Brilliant. And did you visit SpaceX as well?
I did. So this was in Hawthorne in LA. Right. I was able to see the factory and kind of see what they were up to, and that was really cool. That they were really nice, touring me around. I wasn't allowed, like, so it was the same with Virgin Galactic. As an international, as a foreigner, you're not allowed to see everything really. But it was amazing. So I got to, with Virgin Galactic, I actually got to fly their simulation. So they've got a whole simulation going, and so you kind of know what it's like to spend a couple of minutes up there, and that was really cool.
Brilliant. And you dropped into North Carolina, I think, and
it did.
Lilac's asking what was it like flying into the birthplace of aviation?
That was weird. Yeah, that was, weird in an amazing kind of way. So I landed there. I couldn't see the runway for a really long time because it was all, like, there were trees all around, so it took me forever. So it was a pretty rough landing. But yeah, I got to kind of see exactly where the first flights took place. And it kind of makes you realize how quickly aviation has evolved. That was only 120 years ago, kind of. So seeing it, kind of, yeah, I can't describe it, right? It's one of those feelings where you feel it's very philosophical and where you're just thinking deeply about about everything. But it was really cool.
Brilliant. And now going on to your route, where is next? We've had a few questions about Russia. One from this chap: when do you anticipate departing Nome?
So I got my Miffy, so that's my mascot, my co-pilot. I'm actually not solo, I've got a couple of co-pilots with me. But she came back with my passport and my visa yesterday. So I got everything I needed yesterday. And then I was hoping to get out today, but the weather up in Russia is not looking ideal. So Sunday is looking good. So the airfield closes over the weekend in Russia, but Sunday is looking good. So I'm really excited for that. And yeah, I've never been to Russia, so that'll be good.
Good. That sounds exciting. Now, Andrea says, which flying skill do you feel has improved most so far?
Oof. I think sort of coping with things you weren't expecting in that sense, sort of keeping your cool and saying, actually, no, let's do this, let's do that, like not rushing into decisions as well. And just thinking, okay, I'm going to take a minute to kind of relax. Like, this just happened, or I just saw that, or like a bird like just narrowly missed me. You get kind of used to that. But I take a couple minutes, just kind of regroup and see what is the best decision. I've had to divert quite a few times on this trip. So it's just, okay, so I'd like to divert now, but which airport should I land at? Are there ones that are better than others? And actually coming down from Northern Colombia to Southern Colombia, it was supposed to be a 4-hour flight, I think. And kind of 2 hours into my trip, I was above the cloud at this point because the cloud bases were way too low. And so I was at 9,500 feet, I think. And every 10 minutes or so, I just had to go up another 1,000. And I just thought, so at this point, I think I was at 10,500. And I'd already sort of said, I'll try one more time, right? Like, just 10 more minutes, see how it goes. And it was worsening, it wasn't getting better. So I just landed at the nearest airfield. I just thought, well, there's one right here. I guess I'll just land there and wait the weather out a little bit. And so that's what I did. I just, by coincidence, like, it happened to be Quibdó. So I land there, and then like an hour later, someone comes up to me and says, you just landed at the rainiest city on Earth. And I was like, sorry, excuse me. And sure enough, I Google it, and Quibdó, Colombia is the rainiest city on earth. And by complete coincidence, I happened to land there. So sure enough, I was stuck there for 2 days because it is pretty rainy. But it was amusing.
Brilliant. And how was like the likes of JFK?
So I think coming in was a lot scarier and like sort of landing and taxiing, because you're flying, I mean, just above New York City, which I wasn't really used to. So I'm used to kind of, in England and stuff, there's a lot of green fields and, all the pretty, in Belgium as well. Like there's always some place to land in case everything were to go wrong. But at that point, it's just like, buildings. And it was really cool, slightly scary, obviously. I wanted to be really like professional and everything, and came into land. I had a follow me car straight away because it's obviously such a big airfield that you just get lost. And then actually on the way out was a lot more interesting, because then I was in this queue. There's a pretty long queue to take off at JFK, and it was like Boeing, Airbus, Boeing, me, Boeing, Airbus, Boeing. And I've got video where I'm just filming and you see this huge plane, and then I go back and like maybe 6 or 7 other huge aircraft behind me. And so I line up, and this the JFK ATC clears me for takeoff, and then he had done that just after another like huge aircraft had taken off. So I kind of awkwardly go, "Can I just wait 1 minute, please?" As there's a huge amount of planes waiting for me. So that was a bit, but I mean, it was fine. It was really fun. And then I just got out and flew straight over Central Park, and that was amazing.
Brilliant. Now the rest of your journey, you're going Russia, and then it's Japan after that, isn't it?
Yeah. So actually, I'm going to South Korea now. So China was tough because of COVID restrictions, and Japan is hard because of the sharks. The shark is a microlite, and they're a bit stricter with microlites over there. So then I'm going to South Korea instead.
Yeah, and then where's your second antipodal point? Was that somewhere in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, so normally it was going to be to Mako in Colombia and then Jambi in Indonesia. But because I had to land in Quibdó and then start heading back north to kind of avoid wasting time, I'm going to Jakarta, Indonesia. So I think normally that should be about 2 or 3 weeks away if I keep going. If it keeps going well. But I'm excited, so we'll see. I've never been anywhere near there, so.
Brilliant. And now another viewer question: the shark, does it have enough space for all your luggage for the entire world trip?
Yeah, that's the one thing. The shark is amazing, but there isn't a huge amount of space. So I've got my fuel tank in the second seat in the back, and on top of that, I also put my another bag. But yeah, it's been good. I have about 2 jumpers for. I wasn't expecting to spend so much time in Alaska, so I've been a bit cold, but yeah, it's been good.
Brilliant. Now, Ed, Dave, any questions?
Which is the bit you're looking forward to the most? I see you're drinking water or moonshine there.
Yeah, keeps me going. I am looking forward to South Korea. I think hopefully the flying should be quite good. I'm obviously looking forward to more flying being near the equator, but the flying does tend to be trickier. I mean, there's thunderstorms kind of everywhere. I was flying through Mexico, and then I've got Iridium communications, so I'm able to kind of text people on the ground. At this point, I've got a few people like there to flight follow, just to make sure that if I need something, I can quickly text them and they'll be there, like kind of on standby. At this point, it was my dad, and so I'm kind of like being efficient, if you will, because I'm trying to beat the sunset, and I can see like some activity so it's all blue skies kind of, but I can see like some stuff in the distance, like on my heading. So I messaged him and I'm like, there seems to be like some activity ahead. Like, could you check the satellite and make sure that there's no like thunderstorm or something? And he says, no, it's fine. Just go direct. Like, completely fine. There's nothing there. Blue skies all the way. Like, okay. And then like a minute later, I'm like, no, like I feel like there's a thunderstorm there. Could you just double check and see how big it is and how how far around it I should go? And again, he's like, no, honestly, like completely fine. I checked it. Like, just go straight. Like, no issues whatsoever. And then I say, no, you don't understand. I can see the lightning strikes. Please, can you tell me what the best way what to do? And he was like, yeah, just go around it. I was like, okay, cool. Yes, it's not too big. But yeah, it was funny.
Brilliant. I've just noticed one really important question, which is, what's your favourite in-flight snack?
So every stop, people have been giving me like the local delicacies, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm just kind of anything that people give me, I'll eat. But it's been good.
So isn't that when you leave Alaska, don't they isn't the speciality a kind of little putrid bit of rotten whale or blubber or something? That
I had those beef sticks? I had a moose stick. So that was cool. Yeah. So they're a bit different, but
which has been your favorite?
Similar.
Which has been your favorite airfield so far, apart from Popham?
Popham, I love Popham. Yeah. Greenland was really cool. It is stunning. It is stunning. And then JFK was pretty. Yeah. I mean, how to compare? I mean, every airfield has been relatively similar. They've been quite big, asphalt. But yeah, I think Greenland was amazing. JFK was really cool. Those would probably be my top two.
Just for fun, Whiskey Alpha says, you've got Zara calling ahead to get weather advice from her dad, when most people her age are going, Dad, I need a taxi.
Yeah, I've been that taxi a few times.
I needed I had to divert for the sunset in a place called Washington Warren in North Carolina. And by the time I land, the airfield was completely empty. There was nothing there. It was pretty big actually, but absolutely no one there. It was like dark at this point as well. So I've landed and I get to sort of the parking lot and I'm trying to contact these taxi companies, but with my accent, I'm trying to tell them I'm at Washington Warren Airport. And they just respond like, madam, like Washington, D.C. is very far away from here. And so I have to say, no, Washington Warren in North Carolina. And nobody really knew what Washington Warren Airfield was. So I had to try and convince this taxi to please come and pick me up because I really need a place to stay overnight. And he was half an hour away. So he said, yeah, I mean, I could come, but it's going to cost you quite a bit. So, and then at that exact point, a car drives in. And people said, this is an empty part of King Law and it's pitch black outside. And so one car comes in and I'm like, this is a bit weird. But I told the taxi guy, I'm like, well, someone just drove in. Just like, let me call you back in 5 minutes. I'll try and catch a ride. And so he stops and then sure enough, I go to this guy. I never asked him why he was there, but I just figured, this is my best shot. So I asked him, like, sir, I'm really sorry about this, but there's a hotel about 10 minutes away from here. Would it be okay if you could kind of just drop me off? He was like, yeah, no problem. And so that was how that was a bit of an adventure. And when I tell my dad, he laughed. When I told my mum, I think she had a look of horror on her face. So, yeah.
So are you handling all your own logistics kind of place to place?
No, so that's where I'm lucky that I've got some people helping me out. Usually I'm staying with hosts, but when I divert somewhere, then I'll sort of sort out like a hotel or something. Like, it's not too tricky. Yeah.
Nice one. I have to say, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with I don't mean this to sound patronizing, but with the maturity of your decision making along the way in your diversions and stuff like that. That's kind of the really impressive part for me.
Thank you. Anyway. I've learned to kind of not that I would obviously ever divert on purpose before, but sometimes it's quite nice diverting because it doesn't make it like really adventurous, right? You land somewhere that you weren't planning on landing at, and so suddenly you're stuck in this town that you don't know. In Quibdó, they gave me a police escort back to my hotel, and they told me, you know, you are not allowed to leave the hotel without like this guy. Like they gave me a list of people, like this person, this person, this person, and if someone new comes up, you call us straight away and ask us if it's okay. So you get this whole new sense of adventure, I guess, which is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Did you tell your mum about that?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Did you tell your mum about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one comment that sums up everything here. I think impressed is an understatement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, and Chuck Miller says, how is the Rotax holding up?
Really good. It's been really, really good. I've been testing the plane. I'm basically a test pilot at this point. I went up to 13,000 feet in Greenland. And then just the other day, it was minus 13 degrees Celsius at about 8,500, I think. So I'm kind of testing it out, seeing how it goes. And it's been amazing. It's been really good, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
One more question. Manfred says, how many people are working behind the scenes to keep you going?
Sure. So I've got, for the flight following kind of logistics of it, my dad's helping me out. An amazing woman called Megan Bowden helping me out. And in the US, I had John Skitone. He's been kind of, because of the time difference, it's kind of tough to get people in Europe involved. But so those are the biggest three. My mom's been helping loads with my social media, as well as a couple other people. And so I've got about, I'd say 5 people, working like a lot on this project. And without them, there's no way I could do this. So yeah.
When are you expecting to be back?
November. Sometime in November, yeah. But then I'm saying, like, as long as I'm back before Christmas, I'm happy.
One more question from the comments. When this is all done, what are your career plans?
I'm hoping to go to university next year to do electrical engineering. Sorry about that. I'm actually applying right now, so that's been quite tough to try and get it's quite a lot of work to try and apply to different universities. But that's been fun, and then we'll see. After that, we'll see. Yeah.
I think any university that learned that you applied while flying around the world would be like, no, here's a place.
Hopefully, because I'd like to get in. Yeah. No, but I'm really excited.
I have to say that's been hugely impressive. We've had some fantastic guests on in the past, but you've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very kind.
Okay,
thank you, and thank you guys for. I was supposed to be on this a few weeks ago, so I apologize about that. But I think at the time I was battling wildfires in North California.
Okay, so now you got your priorities sorted out. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, loads and loads of congratulations and things in the comments to you, Zara, and obviously just best of luck from all of us, and keep flying safely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Zara.
Thank you.